Hey, everybody, it's Robert Seaster with The Social Leader. How is everybody doing today? And we are back for another Conversation Live. First of all, sponsored by The Social Leader, helping everybody with social media, small, mid-sized businesses. So if you're looking, check out the site, check and send a message and see if we can help you. Today, we got the ultimate guest. Big fan of mine for, I can't even tell you how many years. Got to meet him recently in October when he was up here in Short Hills. Met him for a few minutes. Great guy. Agreed to come on. We're going to talk about him, life, business, his everything that's going on. You all know him. We all love him. Get a sledgehammer and let's get to work. Chef Robert Irvine.
What's up there? What's up? How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I wanted to get a mini sledgehammer to hold, but I couldn't find one.
I could have sent you one.
So you have been on a roll the past few years.
Well, it depends what you call a role. I'm fighting the world on equality and doing the right things and helping people and just I believe, and it's so funny. You'll laugh. I'm having my carpets cleaned by a really cool guy in my house right now. And we were just talking about equality and taking care of people and doing the right things. And I think that's what the last couple of years has been for me.
Actually, obviously, prior to COVID, Restaurant Impossible, huge. Dinner Impossible here and there, still going on a little bit.
Yeah.
Your restaurants, the one at the Pentagon, the one in Vegas, doing great. You've got business opportunities going on between, hey, I'm going to show them now. I got them. Gin and vodka. And the purposely signed the gin because I don't really drink that much gin. So I figured this is the one I'll keep whole. But the vodka is going to start going down soon.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, you can drink the gin because it's the non-drinkers drink. It's made with 13 botanicals. You can just pull it. Just pull it that way. It's fine. Just push it. 13 botanicals that are really cool because I went to Sri Lanka to pick up the cinnamon. It's got Darjeeling tea. I mean, it's the non-gin drinkers gin. You will love it. Believe me. And the
but
money.
I think since you signed it, I might need to keep it sealed.
We just go and get a case. Giving away presents. The more money you spend, the more money I give away. So
that's true. And obviously working with the military, but I want to talk about that because I want to backtrack here and let people get to know the real Robert Irvine before he even became chef.
Robert Irvine. That was
You were born in Salisbury, England.
Yep. Actually, I grew up in Manchester, which is a very blue-collar coal mining industrial area. My dad was worked in a factory. My mother was a bartender when I was a young kid. And the interesting part about that was, we scraped and scrimped and we had no money. It's so funny because I literally was just telling a story. A Friday night dinner, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday was 2 slices of bread, a little bit of butter and sugar. That's how I grew up until we could afford milk. And then we had milk and cornflakes. And that's how I grew up till I joined the military at 15 and a half years old, when my mother caught me at home drinking my dad's beer, called the house, and I was, double back from school and started drinking beer. And she said, right, that's it. You're going in the military. So that's exactly what I did. Signed my papers at 15 and a half years old on my 16th birthday. I joined Her Majesty's Royal Navy. And the coolest thing about that was I was not the smartest kid on the block, I took my test to get into Navy, 1 being the highest in English and maths and 5 being the lowest. And I got 5.5. I just scraped through. And they said, well, good, you're going to be a cook. And I'm like, well, that's awesome because that's what I want to be, I did a home economics class at school, 30 girls and me. Thought I was going to get a girlfriend, didn't. I made my first quiche Lorraine, and the rest of the world became food. And here we are at 57 years old. um, feeding the military worldwide in the middle of change and trying to change the world, not only in the restaurant world, but the retail world, the liquor world, the nutrition world. I think everything I touch has a component of taking care of people.
Yep, it does. And that's interesting you say that because, you started, like you said, in the military as a cook. And I read an article doing my research. Your father was not very happy about that.
No, my dad was really pissed off, actually, and that's an understatement. My father was in the British Army. My brother was in the British Army. So my father was such a good soccer player, football in England, but soccer here, that they kept him in the army just because he was that good at soccer. Not he was in the REME, Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineer, but that's not why they kept him. It was just that he was that good at football. My brother joined the Army Air Corps and was a load master on a helicopter, a Lynx helicopter. When I decided, when I was frog marched to the Navy recruitment office, became a cook, he actually disowned me for 2 years because he felt it was very subservient of me being a cook. In England, I don't know if it still is, but I think it still is a little upstairs, downstairs. Those holier than thou and better than us. And if you know anything about me, I think that's the biggest crock of whatever you want. We're all created equal. I don't care whether you're black, white, yellow, green, pink, whatever fluorescent color you want. We're on this planet because the good Lord put us here, and our job is to help each other. And when my dad didn't talk to me for 2 years, I was my first job, or my second job after a warship, was working for a 2-star admiral, which is funny. In his house, I was his chef. His name was Admiral Warsop, and his wife, and such an amazing human being. I could cook, I could create, but at 12 o'clock every day, he took me sailing on his boat, and became kind of almost like my I don't know, foster dad, if you like, teaching me not only to sail, but about life in general. One day he decided that he was going to have a cocktail party and bring all the staff, the driver, and, parents and families, and, have a good time. And I called my mother, who lived in Salisbury, which was 22 miles away. He was going to send a driver for her. And I said, oh, great. She gets to meet my boss. Little did I know that my father was coming, and jumped in the car. And I'm like, oh, my God, my dad's here. My dad was a little bit of I don't know, an alcoholic, if you like. And I was afraid what he was going to say to my boss, who was a 2-star admiral who had my life in his hands, Funnily enough, they became friends by playing rounders similar to baseball, rounders in the garden. And all of a sudden, being a cook was a great thing, as opposed to 2 years of disowning me because I was on the lower end of the totem pole, as he thought. I never thought that. But that's how, and after that, it was kind of weird because then he wanted to come to the States. Then all the things that we did after that, I left the Navy, came to the States, all the things that I did, he wanted to follow. And it
His
made
mindset
him
changed.
Yeah, I think it made him proud. I mean, he passed away 8 years ago, but I think he was proud of what, I have a brother who was in the Army, 2 sisters who have done very well. I think he was proud of all of us, but it took me a long time to change his perspective.
And I think that's very common with people in general. They're afraid of change, and it's in all aspects. So before we get into your book, because I definitely want to talk about this book, because I think everybody needs it. You were doing, you were in the military, you got in the love of food. It obviously saying you didn't do well on the test, so we're going to make you a cook, not realizing what this future was going to bring for you.
Yeah.
You know, what is it about food that got you so passionate, even back then?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to my parents, right? So my mom worked in a paint and wallpaper store. She was a manager. My dad was a painter and decorator once he got out of the military. Um, Obviously, when I played soccer, I was never good enough at that, even though I played some pretty amazing soccer. Um, Food for me was, in the beginning, really home economics class, 30 girls and me, because I thought I could get a girlfriend. I was a sports guy. I was a woodwork guy. I was a history guy. I loved that, but I hated everything else. So I never went to school for it, except home economics. Home economics for me was taking a bunch of ingredients and creating something that was edible. And I thought that science was amazing. I made my first quiche Lorraine. I'll never forget it. How can pastry, some eggs, some milk, some cheese, and bacon and onion create a meal that made people smile? I took it home. My dad was like, what is this crap? Or my dad was not a good. He was a meat and potato guy, so anything
That's my
fancy,
dad.
he would never touch it. Eggs and French fries or chips, the meat and potato pie. That was my dad. So I would come home every week with a new dish, a chicken fricassee, or and he would, what's this crap? So I think from that, my mother worked hard. She would be in a store forever, and she would come home, and I would have dinner ready. Whatever was in the pantry, I would find, and off we go. And that's how I found the love. I think food is hope. I think food is the future. It allows the tough conversations. When somebody's passed away, somebody's born, somebody's divorced, think of all those occasions that we have where the Last Supper, right? Food is always around it. And I think food changes moods. If you're having a bad day, I know it for a fact. I can put a plate of food and change your mind at least for a couple of hours.
It's kind of like those rainy, gray days, and you have that home comforting bowl of soup, and it just kind of fills you up.
Exactly. So I think that's the fun part. Do you need me? Okay. Sorry, they're doing my house.
Don't worry about it. Is that Gail?
No, it's my guy who's cleaning my floors and they need the carpet.
Speaking of Gail, and I know one of your very, very good friends, Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
You grew up in those first few years military, which is very rigid.
Yes.
This is the way it is, and there is no change. If you just try to push the line, we're going to push you back.
Yeah.
And in your shows, Restaurant Impossible, you're teaching and mentoring these people about systems and the process and everything else. And that's your personality. You like to have things in order.
Totally.
And then comes along Guy and Gail, which to me, knowing their personalities, because I do know who Gail is from WWE, and Guy is just out there, shall we say.
Yeah.
So opposite of you.
Actually, I met Guy many years ago before he even won Food Network Star, who became my best man. So he's been with me, a friend of mine, for many years. We are so different, but yet so alike. He's off the cuff. I'm very planned. Although, Afghanistan, Iraq, Poland, Syria, Spain, where I drop in and feed 30,000 people at a time, is something I'm special at. Guy has the ability to make somebody feel good, and we both have that ability, but we are very different. I own all my companies. He licenses his name, which is his prerogative, right? I can't do that because I want a vested interest in. It's the same with Gail. Gail came from a circus, And she, WWE is a circus. So is television. We're like traveling gypsies. We
Right.
do the same thing, but in different ways. And when I met Gail, not only had I met this beautiful, adorable, cute, amazing woman, but she was an independent, tough woman who, she had a career and still has a great career, but was passionate about doing something. And there's one thing I will tell you about, which you already know, but is that I'm passionate about what I do. Guy's passionate about what he does, and Gail, what she does. So collectively, if we come up with an idea, it's very organic because we all have this love of people. Guy jumped onto a screen with Triple D and has gone on to, he's what Guy is.
He's got more shows than I can count.
Right. So it's just different horses, different courses. And I believe that we're all put on this planet, no matter, as I said a minute ago, where we're from, how much money we have, what our background is to help those folks. My job is to help my 5,000 employees get better at what they do, because they're the ones that do it. I don't. I'm a pretty face, or not even a pretty face, but I'm the face on the front of things and it's my money, but it's money that I've hard earned to get to this point to be able to do what I just said, which is help people. So yes.
And I remember the episode you met Gail at Dinner Impossible.
Yes, I met Gail WWE when I was doing Dinner Impossible. So
what caught your eye to her?
What was what?
What caught your eye with her? Because you had a lot of people. It's a TV show. You had a lot of people in and out.
Was wearing
other WWE wrestlers running around, but Gail caught your eye.
She was wearing a purple short dress. They wanted to bring her in. I had The Miz and some other wrestlers, and I screamed, "No, I'm not ready for her." And at some point she came in, and I put an apron on her. I mean, there are circumstances where you meet people and you hit it off right away. I was enamored with her right away. Took her 6 weeks. I took a picture with her. We talked for 6 weeks before I met her in New York City, and the rest is history. Here we are, almost 15 years later.
Married.
10,
it's going to be 11 this year.
No, actually 11 this year.
Yeah.
11 this year. And we're still running circuses. She's working 150 days over there a year. I work 345 days a year, 150 of those just with the military. So, we have this gypsy lifestyle that we get to see presidents, kings, queens, wrestlers, cleaner. It doesn't matter. It's,
treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
So
can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
1 second.
No, go. So everybody, we are talking with Chef Robert Irvine. I see so many of you in the chat. If you do have questions, put them in the chat and I'll try to get to them before he leaves. I do have some from previously that I'm ready to ask. And we're going to be talking. Also, in the description, there's a link for pre-ordering his book, Overcoming Impossible. I highly, highly recommend this book. It's not just about restaurants. It's not just about food. It's about life. It's about business. It doesn't matter if you're the one-man realtor or a mortgage person or a small little Etsy business to a nice-sized business. It's really going to make you think through how your business reacts, how your business is doing. Yes, Jim, he will be answering questions. Oh, Sherry, that's great. So I want to get some of this stuff on the screen. So Sherry's chiming in from Facebook. She's using his French toast recipe. Her kids love it. And I totally agree with you, Dolly, by the way. Guy is comic relief. He is just on fire with that. Just everything he does. Let's see what else we got here. 100%. Dorenas, you are correct. 100%. We are all here to help each other. Let me see if I can get back into some of these things before he steps back in. Jonathan Littman, obviously, I hope we helped you answer that question. He met her at the WWE when they did a dinner impossible for it. Oh, good, Dawn. She pre-ordered the book. Good to hear that. What do we got here? A long one. Thank you, Rob. Oh, you are very welcome. Yes, he's absolutely amazing. So, when I got to meet him in October, in fact, I think I even have. Let me see if I have it.
Thank you.
Here we are.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was showing everybody
some pretty pictures.
That the two of us met. I was answering some of these little quick questions I saw that we heard. Somebody, I cooked against you, Jim Burns.
That's probably on one of my live shows. I don't know.
See, you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah. Jim, just ask Jim, did he win? He probably won.
He wants to know when you'll be back in Jersey. Oh, that ball.
We'll see. We're in the middle of right now of we've got a new pilot with HGTV. We're waiting to see if Restaurant Impossible comes back and some other shows. And we've got an awful lot going on this year, an awful lot. So we'll wait and see.
Tell him how much he's appreciated for his service and his foundations for veterans from Bill Shaw.
Thanks, Bill.
Then,
yeah, it's a big piece of my life.
Question. Have you or will you produce a show highlighting how restaurant
Impossible.
Possible. Steve, if you want to rewrite that, I'll try to look out for it. So I want to ask you some questions I got ahead of time. We're going to go right into the book.
Yeah.
So Lisa Smith told me last week from Facebook, she lives down in Daytona Beach. Oh, there's one person that does have to say hi.
Hey, Raina, how are you?
You FaceTimed her when we spoke, calling her Panda.
I did.
For everybody else, Raina's my daughter. She's at school. Get back in class.
Yes, Dad's paying a lot of money.
So Lisa Smith from Facebook down in Daytona, Florida. Restaurant Impossible question. You've visited so many restaurants over the years. I know there's been over 200 episodes myself. You've seen those conditions of the kitchen, improperly stored food, dirty, sometimes rodent droppings or all this stuff. And there are times you have said, I won't eat the food. Is there ever a time you ate the food and got sick?
Funnily enough, actually, it's now 320 episodes of Restaurant Impossible total. I ate a restaurant just before COVID, the 17th of, actually, wasn't it? It was the 15th of March. I was in State College, Pennsylvania, staying at a golf course, revisiting a restaurant that I'd actually done years ago. And I got sick, so sick that they put in me hospital in State College for 2 days. But it wasn't the restaurant I did. It was where I was staying at a golf course there. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, COVID happened. We were supposed to go to San Diego, then to Hawaii. It was a couple of week trip. And the whole world shut down on St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
But I was in hospital and I couldn't get out of hospital because my crew had packed up based on COVID and nobody would pick me up. There was no Ubers, there was no nothing. And funnily enough, it was a Homeland Security human being that took me to the airport because she knew me. And it wasn't, I didn't have COVID. I just had food poisoning. I was violently ill based on pierogies I'd ate at this restaurant the night before.
Is that the only time you've been sick from one of the places?
I would never. That's the only time I've ever been sick on anything. I don't get sick. I'm a pretty good. Look, anybody that can eat stuff in the desert and cockroaches and all those things, it's got a pretty good stomach.
It all came down to the pierogi.
The pierogi, which I love, by the way, put me in hospital for 2 days.
Oh God. All right, Steve chimed in. Sorry, he had a finger problem when he was texting. Have you produced a show showing how a restaurant from Restaurant Impossible is how the show's created, and from the selecting the process, designing the set, or something? So behind the scenes, have you ever thought about doing
We've
something
done
like that?
we do behind the scenes all the time. We broke the fourth wall a long time ago, and I can tell you, Steve, and whoever's listening, the show is as you see it. I know nothing going into it because I choose not to know anything, because then I get real. It's reality in the realest form. What I do know, or I don't know, but the designer, whoever it is, will know the dimensions of the room. That's all they know.
Okay, so Tom and
So
whoever the
Tom
designer
and
is,
Tanya or Lynn or Luke, they only know the dimensions of the room.
and it's
Nothing else.
literally 48 hours.
And the reason we do that is because they don't know, based on how I'm going to ask you the questions and your responses to me. The production team, of course, they get there the day before. They set up the tents with all equipment. I do not roll in until the second day, the morning of. I meet you for the first time. You tell me your story. I then have to figure out what's real or Memorex. In other words, the money and everything else. I bring the team in. That's the first time I see the restaurant. It's the first time I see Tom or Tanya or Tom and Lynn or Tom and Luke. I then say, based on the conversation of the human being that I'm talking to, the owner, and my drive up, what I see around, okay, what is this restaurant supposed to be? And if you tell me it was supposed to be an Arabian whatever, I'm like, okay, well, why would you do that in a place like this? And I have to figure out in a very short amount of time, what should it be based on? Not only what you want, but also the technical side of the kitchen people and what the kitchen equipment is. Can I make a menu they can put out quickly and make sense? Then we literally go to the Lowe's or Home Depots and purchase whatever I want, or my idea. And when you see me say, oh, I want to cover this and I want to do this and I want the lighting to be this, then while they're shopping, I'll see what they see, and I'll say yes or no. There's been times where we picked a paint color, we painted it, and 3 hours later when it's dry, I hate it, and we have to change it.
And you're very shy about telling your feelings on this.
Oh, I have no look. At the end of the day, I look at this show as real life, in that if I leave this restaurant, are people going to like it? And is it the way I would want it if it was my restaurant? So there's a lot of restaurants shows out there. There's a lot of bar rescue shows out there. There's a lot of those things that paint around the frames of pictures. If there's something wrong, my mantra at the beginning of this 13 and a half years ago was, if it's wrong, we'll fix it and we don't leave till it's fixed, regardless of the cost. To the point that we started off with $10,000. I can tell you right now, we're probably around $22,000 to fix the places. Everything's so expensive. I've had gas pipes blow up in the kitchen where we've dug 6-foot holes in the kitchen, and I have to, I've had sewers break into the restaurant from the toilets we've had to fix. That was $40,000.
Oh God.
So, and the network wants to kill me when they do that, but
of course,
when we touch it, and it was broken before, but you kind of have excrement flowing into a kitchen in a restaurant. So we fix those things, but it's all on the fly, and the anger that you see between brother and sister, Tanya and Tom or me, it's real. It's frustration. It's, don't tell me we can't do it, because I've got the best two that can do it. And I'm not leaving till we've done it. It's been 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. We've done restaurants, and as we're about to open and we've set the restaurant, the ceiling falls in. It's happened. So 320 plus shows, 90, and the last 3 years since we've been back, 96% are successful. Can't say that prior to COVID, but in COVID, we did 66 episodes of TV of helping people get through COVID on buses. So
exactly. All right, FitCrunch bar question. And more pack, Facebook, New Jersey. Any new flavors on the horizon besides peanut butter and mint?
Absolutely. If you go into Amazon.com or FitCrunchBars.com, you'll see 11 flavors. The reason that you see peanut a lot is because the Costco's, the Walmarts, all these people request that. I've just brought out 2 weeks ago a coconut chocolate almond, which is there. We've got a strawberry strudel. We've got cinnamon twist. There's a lot of flavors that stores won't carry because they have a specific mix they like. But if you go to Amazon.com, Costco mixed or FitCrunchBars.com, you'll see them all. And
I will put the link for the FitCrunchBars.com in the chats for LinkedIn, YouTube, and here later. Definitely get them. I've actually had a few. They're very tasty.
But I will tell you right now, we're running in Costco a $6 off coupon for the next month. So if you want to get, that's the way the MVM there. We've also got a blueberry muffin coming out and a chocolate banana. We've also got
chocolate banana. I'm on that one.
Hard cookies, soft cookies, and in Walmart, a trail mix. So there's a lot of things coming on that brand.
Great. One last question here. We're going right to your book, but this came up and I was wondering, I remember this. You went back to see her and raised a lot of money for this young lady, Rosie. Have you spoken to her since? How's she doing?
I speak to Caitlin, her name is, every other day. So she's just finished her motor skills so we're 2 years since that accident. A lot of people know that when I left, she became part of my family regardless of the accident. Then one night she got hit by a hit and run guy. They couldn't find the guy. There was no fingerprints in the car. The car was stolen. They found him. He's now in prison. Thank goodness.
Good.
She is doing great. She's doing a lot of brain schooling to get the motor skills back. She just started driving again a couple of weeks ago. But my biggest, I don't know what the word is here, but my biggest joy, and that's not enough, by the way, is that she's doing Tough Mudders and she's fit. My team and I helped to get rid of the restaurant.
That's great.
And she didn't pay any debt, thanks to my lawyers and my team. The restaurant is still there, but yes, the beautiful thing about Caitlin, and not only a mother, but is she's strong-willed. She's a hard worker, and the Food Network. I will tell you this, and look, I can argue with everybody. The Food Network, when I went to them and said, "Look, we need to do something," the Food Network stepped up. Not only said, "There's $500,000 to do the show," because that's what it cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's $50,000 to start the fund off. We raised about 180 something thousand. Yeah. The mayor of the San Diego and that area and all the police force, the firefighters there, they were just simply amazing. It was very personal to me, and it still is. As every episode we've done, I still keep in contact with them, except one, because he went out of business. He was silly. So yeah, that was very personal. She's doing great. I literally get FaceTimes and pictures, and
that's wonderful.
I talk to her every couple of days, so she's doing great. Thank you for asking, because she was a big part of why the show is successful. Not because she got an accident, but because she changed her life, and she's still doing that.
That's great. So, Robert Irvine's Overcoming Impossible. Now, if anybody understands Robert Irvine, there is a theme here. The word impossible, dinner impossible, restaurant impossible. But what I love about when I pre-ordered my book and everything, but listening in on that little pre-type of thing, and it's nice to see it's your own voice, by the way.
I don't narrate the whole book, because I will tell you, I'm not that good at reading. And people that know me from social media know that my sentences don't have full stops and commas, and it's like one big blur. So I did read the first piece. Then I have an English guy who's doing the rest, because I am not good. There's one thing I'm not good at.
But what's great about this is, you've come up in the food industry, you've come up with restaurant industries and helping people with food and everything you've been involved in, even your gin and vodka, your FitCrunch bars, your restaurants. It's always hospitality, and you give back obviously because you're military. But everything that you're teaching and mentoring is not only about the hospitality industry. It can work for the realtor who works for himself, or the mortgage broker that's a 1099 guy, or an Etsy person, or it can work for a large corporation. It's really so much more.
The book was created. Well, first of all, I want your listeners to know that I own most of everything we do. The only thing I don't own is NBC and Food Network, right? They're the only two that have my name when I do work with them. But I will tell you, Restaurant Impossible was started because somebody wanted help. And if you scale that to a Comcast, NBC, American Airlines, Walmart, they're all scalable based on mom and pop operations. The reason I bought this book out of was really necessity, because people would email me every week. And if you think we get 2,000 applications for Restaurant Impossible and we pick one a week, that will give you an indication of the volume. So I said, okay, well, why don't we write this book, right? And give all the answers, not to being successful, because I don't think there is any book that can do that, but to teach you the lessons. And number one lesson is, how do we deal with people? Leadership. I call it empathetic leadership. That's not being soft. You can still be tough, but be able to listen and hear what people are telling you. Because if you listen carefully, the answer's already in the questions that people are asking you. The second part of that is egos. The egos of the people that work for you or work with you, and your very own ego. And I find this in restaurants and in big corporations, that it's my way or the highway, and my food is great, and this is, and chefs have the biggest egos on the planet, right? They do. We do. But it took me a while. And if you've noticed a change in Restaurant Impossible in the last 4 years, very different from the beginning. I now find myself listening. We had a hiatus for 3 years. And I now find myself listening to hear, not to hear a conversation, to hear the problems. And I think the third thing is trust. How do we trust people to do their job and not micromanage and all those things? Because the book gives you lessons of my failures. And you're exactly, Dolly just wrote there about stepping back. Absolutely.
Yeah, I put that up there. I saw that and I was like, it's what he's saying.
Absolutely. I was this guy that when we started Restaurant Impossible 14 years ago, I had a mantra, which was go in and fix it and do it well. Not really caring about the people's thought process of what I was going to design. Fix the menu, fix the restaurant, teach them, move on. And after, I got to say, 8 or 9 years, we went on a hiatus. I started to build my 11 companies to what they are today. And I started to understand that the more you listen, the more you learn, the more you can actually help. So I think doing that has not only helped my business, but also my personal life. I have 2 kids, 24 and 22. I have a wife who's beautiful. You mentioned Gail. But I think this book is about business. It's about families also. It could be, no matter, you take the lessons away. It's just like the show. You take lessons away from the show. Some like design, some like the food, some like me doing a happy dance, some like the decor. There's something in that show for everybody. And I find every week because I live tweet the show, no matter where I am, I live tweet the show and answer the questions.
Right.
I'm honest. I'm really honest. I tell you the truth, because I want you to see, and it's so funny. Somebody wrote a story the other day that was so incorrect. It was, some restaurant website, whatever. And it's so funny because I had a girl, her name was Lori. She's on my Twitter feed. I invite a lot of people to come to the show. I want you to see how real it is. And she wrote a whole amazing story about minute by minute about the show and how and what really happens, which was she should have been a writer of this magazine. But I think sometimes people don't understand and they speak from ignorance instead of finding out facts. And I think that's
Mhm.
our problem with this world today is they don't know the facts, and we make misinformed judgments and speak misinformed, and that's what creates a lot of issues. So that's
And
why I
it's funny
created the
because you've
books.
said it a lot of times, even when you were doing the talk show a few years back. It's about, and you would point to the family. That's nothing. That building is nothing. If
Nope.
this isn't working, that'll never work.
I can't pull it up right now, but I would. I would show you. I'll send it to you. I'll have it sent to you. So when I did the talk show, it was a little Jerry Springerish, not what we pitched, but anyway, it
Right.
was. But I had a kid. We put 75 people in rehab,
Oh
which was
wow.
amazing to me. And we paid, and they come out, and they've all done well. I had a young kid who was 8 years old by the name of Hunter. He came on the studio set, and again, I knew nothing. I don't want to know nothing.
Yeah.
People tell me the story, and his mother told me that he'd burnt the house down because she told him off. Burnt the house down. He was watching porn at 8 years old, stole an iPhone. His dad was incarcerated for selling drugs. And he handed me a piece of paper and said to me, I said, "What is that?" And he said, "You got to read it." I said, "You see that name on the back of the wall? Does it say Robert Irvine or Hunter?" And he said, "Robert Irvine." I said, "Well, you read it because this is my show." And he was basically apologizing to his mother and to me about what he'd done. I said, "That's not acceptable to me. For every action, there is a consequence." So I made him do 20 push-ups. He said, "I can't do 20. He got to 8. I put my arm underneath him, finished at 20. I said, "See how much easier that is when people help you, when you ask for help?" I made a deal with him, and this is a true story. And I'm going to send it to you because it's really important. I said, "I will call you every Wednesday. You'll go to an after-school program at a church. You'll help feed the homeless. And every Friday, I will talk to your tutor. And in return, while you do your job, I will bring you to the Pentagon. I'll let you meet some Medal of Honor recipients. I'll let you see the Pentagon, and I'll let you meet the Chairman of Joint Chiefs," because he wanted to be in the military. Well, I got a text literally 2 weeks ago. It was an Instagram text, whatever, saying, he's graduated college, he's straight A's, he's a straight kid, he
Oh
remembers the
wow.
Pentagon. You made a whole difference in his life. His mother, by the way, couldn't even get into the Pentagon because she had a rap sheet as long as the table. But those moments, you never know. I'm going to send you the picture because it actually made me cry, because we made a difference in a young man's life that was going to follow his dad's journey of incarceration, and now he's a straight A student. And I think that's what
Yep.
the book, that's what my life, that's what my kids' life, my wife, that's what we're dedicated to.
It makes a difference. And it's like what you said earlier, talking back, you're here to help people. You're basically here to help people, whatever method it is, whether
Yeah.
it's to feed, to get people to think differently, to get them listening, to do whatever. You're here to help people.
It's
So,
interesting. It's interesting that during COVID, our distillery was making hand sanitizer. We were the first in the country, by the way, to make hand sanitizer for hospitals in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. We made bars to give to all the hospitals, the National Guard, the firefighters, our first responders, all that stuff that we did. By the way, we kept people employed to be able to do that when everybody else was
exactly.
sitting at home.
There was
Um,
so many aspects of COVID. It was, I mean, I mean, I can't imagine the calls and texts and messages you were getting from restaurants, not
Oh,
knowing. And that's where I was starting to go crazy because I was changing their mind
yeah,
about social media.
yeah.
This is how we could reach out to people. This
And look
show
what
them that
happened.
you're keeping the
And look
place
what
clean.
happened by doing that. Then we're doing TV shows from computers from home. We're
Right.
communicating. So I think look, I think we adapt really well to change, even though we don't like it. COVID was, I mean, it devastated and decimated the world of hospitality worldwide, let alone anything else. The doctors, the nurses, all those things that went on, I think have given us a new sense of reality and what's important. And obviously we're in this different thing now with the inflation and things like that.
Yeah,
But it still doesn't mean that we can't help people. I mean,
exactly. Exactly.
maybe it's to a smaller degree.
I just saw this in the chat. Dante Faraca has volunteered for over 30 of them. Does this person?
Yeah, and I'm just reading it. I'm reading it there. I know Robert very well. His family wouldn't have it any other way. And Dante's exactly right. And look, I hope the future of Restaurant Impossible is continued. Again, we've done 320, 30, 40, whatever it is now. And we do change lives. And I want to continue that. We'll wait and see in the next couple of weeks. But we're doing that with the military right now, with feeding, with exercise, with food. So
What is
yeah.
one tip out of the book do you think that would really make a difference in a person's mind? Just one of them, because I know there's so many.
Oh my goodness. There's the first chapter. The first chapter, even though, and it talks about leadership. You know, moms are really great at leadership because they have to be. And it's so funny. Think about this. Men don't have to go through this. When a child is conceived, the mom takes all the right. She bears the child. She gives the child, and I think mums, females, women, whichever you want to, all of those things, right, are way smarter than men. Way smarter. They're better leaders because they think differently. And I think the leadership of thinking about the people that work with you and their families. You know, you can be in a Fortune 500 company. You can be in a mom and pop company. Like, we're a mid-sized company. We have 5,000 employees across all our platforms in manufacturing and everything we do. And I have to know every one of those people and what they're suffering and how their day is and why they're in a mood or why they're in a great mood. Either way, it doesn't matter. Because that's my job as a CEO or the owner, to understand why productivity is great or it's not great, or, you know, and I think that leadership of creating teamwork, and it's not just teamwork, it's when one man or woman is down, we pick them up and we make sure they're okay, because at the end of the day, that's what we are supposed to do. The empathy in that really builds, and I say this, when COVID happened, we didn't lay anybody off. We laid nobody off. We kept everybody intact because they've got bills to pay just like everybody else. And I think that empathy of understanding that it's not one individual, it's not Robert Irvine. I just happen to be the face of it, right? But it's all them people behind that make things happen. It's like me saying, "Oh, Robert was responsible for making the coffee when somebody else did."
Mm-hmm.
What does that do? It annoys the person that actually made the coffee. It makes them resentful, and that resentfulness goes through the rest of the team, knowing that I didn't make that coffee. And I'm using that as a simple experience explanation, but But if there's a team of people working on a project, and I have lots of projects going on, then we should make sure that they get the accolades for doing that and achieving it. And again, that's leadership. It's getting rid of your own ego for the better of the group or something. And I always say when we serve in the military, it's something bigger than ourselves, right? And I'm a part of something that's way bigger than me. Look, I've got all the chefs that are way smarter than me. They're way better than me. I can cook eggs and I can throw stuff in a pan. It comes out okay. You know, I'm not a 3-star Michelin guy. I don't mind being not as good as other people because I have a trait that's different to them, and so on and so forth. And I think it's understanding, and this is what the book teaches you. It's dealing with failure, how to see not to get to failure again and see the roadblocks that created those failures in the first part. And I think it's really, I got to tell you, I am blown away that and Matt Tuthill, who co-wrote the book with me, who understands me beyond belief, understands that, look, we have a responsibility to each other to move forward together, not as an individual. And those that are individual, there's no I in team, right? You know that. Right. I couldn't do Restaurant Impossible without not only the Tom and Tanya and the production crew, because
the volunteers,
the volunteers that come and you just heard them, right? The volunteers that get stuck in, and we don't pay them. We pay them a stipend now, but it used to be a beer and a tequila, right? Thanks very much. And listen to
with you.
The story of the family, because that's real. This is what you just did. And I think collectively, when you get a group of people from all walks of life in a room and you say, look, this is what we're going to do. We don't know the people. You don't know them yet, but you will over the next 2 days. And the rejoicement of something that happens. And I think I always say the miracle of feeding the 5,000 wasn't that suddenly 5 loaves and 2 fishes became, enough food. It was the fact that the miracle was that we got to share the food. And I feel that's the miracle of Restaurant Impossible is we get to share a common goal of helping somebody we don't know.
That's brings people together.
Yeah.
I mean, just in your own home. That's what the kitchen's all about.
Yeah.
It's to bring the family together. So
and that's what I go back to when I say it brings hope. Food is hope. Food starts the conversations that are not necessarily pleasant.
That is true. That is true. So the link for everybody, I got it up on the screen. I actually made a bit.ly link. It's very simple, Overcoming Impossible. It's the pre-order. It's also in the description of this live. Definitely pre-order this book. You are going to love it. So before we jump off, we are going to do what's called a quick fire to get a little bit of extra information. And like his show, he has no idea what's coming.
I love it. Well, do you?
That's true. Hey, I live by a very simple mantra. I'm a single dad. I got 2 amazing kids. But people ask me questions. And I tell them all the time, you can ask me anything you want. And I will always answer it honestly. But just be ready for the answer.
Well, I always say the same thing. You can ask the question, but be ready for the answer.
Exactly. So, all right, quick fire. What's your favorite food?
Mashed potatoes, chicken.
What's cat or dog?
What's what?
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
New one or old one?
New one.
Okay. What's your favorite cooking show besides your own?
Probably, what's his name? Phil. Phil Rosenthal. He travels with his wife. I forgot the name of it.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's really good.
Okay.
What's Phil? I can Google it, but I watch it, funnily enough.
Oh, okay, great. Favorite band?
ABBA.
Oh. If you were not a chef, what do you think you'd be doing?
I tried to be a firefighter. I wasn't smart enough.
Interesting.
Somebody feed Phil. Somebody feed Phil is the
Somebody
show.
feed Phil. Okay, go check that one out, everybody.
Yeah.
This is from my daughter. She came up with this one, and this is a doozy.
All right.
When was the last time you had a meal from a fast food restaurant?
Oh my goodness.
It's a great question from a 16-year-old.
It is. Look, when I'm on the road, I'll sometimes eat. Yeah, get this one. I'll sometimes eat McDonald's. Yeah, I do. On set, if I'm hungry, I'll eat McDonald's once a week. I've recently had a Taco Bell. I don't even know what they call it, hexagon thing. Which I was so blown away by it. No, I don't eat fast food very often at all. On the moments when I can, grab something quick, I do. But mainly, I'm a healthy eater.
If Guy Fieri came on here right now, what would you say to him?
Get off. Happy birthday, because his birthday was last week and I wasn't there.
What's a food you don't like to eat?
Red and green peppers. And
so you wouldn't be able to eat at Bobby Flay's place.
No. I have nothing with peppers. I do make a red pepper sauce with apple juice for a fish, but I'm not a pepper guy. Up until me visiting Sri Lanka to get the cinnamon, the real cinnamon, I didn't eat cinnamon here because it's called cassia, and it has pepper, and I didn't like that. But I like the cinnamon I buy for the gin because it's real. Comes from a small island in Sri Lanka, owned by 3 generations of people that do it by hand, and it's unbelievable.
Oh, nice.
But up until then, it was that.
All right, last one: cake or pie?
Cake or
pie?
Both. Both. I love.
I can't decide.
Anything sweet. I am your sweet junkie. I love Twix. I love Snickers. I love apple pies. I love any type of cake. It's my downfall. I have to be very careful with it.
There you have a quick fire
like this. Chef Irvine. Can't keep like this if you keep eating pies.
One's for the cake, one's for the pie.
Yeah.
All right. I thank everybody for joining us. Pre-order that book. If you're looking for social media help, always send me a call, and we will talk to you on the next Conversation Live. And if Chef Irvine shows up in New Jersey and I get to take him out for dinner, don't worry, we'll do a quick live stream and show you where we're at.
And don't forget, Robert Irvine told you, somebody feed Phil.
Take care, everybody.